those who want to lose weight, those who want to look great, and those who are preparing for spring. So I'm Dr. R. Let me reintroduce myself again. For those of you who forgot my name, I make it easier. I just use one vowel. Uh, let's talk about where we are first, and then we'll talk about where we're going and why we're here. These sound like deep philosophical questions. They're really not so much, but let's discuss it. The Super Bowl was yesterday. And for those of you who watched the Super Bowl, it was a pretty exciting game. But the Super Bowl, of course, is not about the game anymore. It's about the event. It's been like that for some time now. For a lot of people, it's about the eating. I had a lot of people start the program yesterday. They did their load day yesterday. So the Super Bowl, it was a lot of fun. If you're like me, you ate like crazy. It was ridiculous. We actually, where I went, there were entrees that were supposed to be presented, but we were so sick from the appetizers, we never got to the entrees. I mean, we had charcuterie, and then we had just like, I don't know, a half a dozen appetizers. So it was too much. And frankly, I don't think anyone ate after the first quarter. We pre-gamed big time. So Super Bowl is over. Super Bowl used to be the end of January, and now it's like mid-February practically, right? We have Valentine's Day coming up in 2 days. Gentlemen, do not forget Valentine's Day, or it will be your behind. You forget Valentine's Day at risk. It's not like that in every family. Some families, they don't care. They know that they can express themselves at any time. They know that Valentine's Day is essentially a Hallmark holiday. It's set up to sell cards, to sell candy. That's essentially what it is. But what is wrong with celebrating romance? It's a very, very good thing. But here's the other thing, is that Valentine's Day portends spring and summer. This week, for those of you who care, pitchers and catchers will be reporting to spring training. So here's what this means. It means that baseball season is upon us. Baseball season, as much as any other sign, tells us that spring is here. So spring is very near. We feel the days are getting longer. It's been very warm, although right on time, as soon as we get comfortable, right on time, man makes plans and God laughs. We are going to be having the largest snowstorm we've had in a while. It feels like maybe a few years. We're going to be having this big snowstorm here in New Jersey and on the East Coast. So we get to deal with that. But still, this is just kind of winter fighting to be relevant and to not die too soon, because it hasn't really felt like winter. We've been enjoying 50 and 60 degree weather. So spring is here. Now, spring means that summer is here. It means that we cannot hibernate. It means that we have to reveal ourselves. And I think this is a great time to talk about a subject that's very important and very relevant in the context of our weight and weight loss. And that is inhibition. Inhibition may be the very worst part of being overweight. It is extremely insidious, right? Let's define what I mean by inhibition. Inhibition is a feeling that makes one self-conscious and unable to act in a relaxed and natural way. More than anything else, I think the way it plays out is our attention is on ourselves. Our attention is how we might look. It basically prevents us from acting in a free and easy way. And this, I feel, is really, really important. Because if you ask yourself ultimately what you want, I mean, everyone is going to say that they want health and happiness for their family and themselves. And everyone's going to say they want certain material things. But really, what we probably want more than anything else is to be free from worry, to be free from anxiety and overwhelm, to be free from consequences, although that's not possible, right? But that's really what we want at heart. Have you ever met people who are just free and you're like envious? I mean, what comes to mind for me is a maybe a bizarre example, but years ago I remember going out in New York with a friend of mine, and we went to this room. I mean, I say a room, it was a club, right? But this particular room, and it was a very upscale place. And I just remember how freely everyone was acting and moving, and like they didn't have a care in the world. And these are people who work hard and have a lot of anxieties, but somehow I assume have a lot of anxieties, right? They're in New York. But somehow the vibe in the room was so free and easy, and it was such a great room to be in. I mean, I felt like I didn't belong, right? Because here I was worrying. It was kind of like Woody Allen. Like it was a very Woody Allen-esque thing, right? If you ever saw Annie Hall, everyone's partying and he's, consumed with worry. I wouldn't say it was that bad, but that's kind of how I felt. I was like, what are these people on? And by the way, that might have been the reason for the vibe. But the point is that they were not inhibited. And more often than not, we are, right? We can't act in a certain way. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But it's so much worse for people who are overweight and conscious of it and don't want to be overweight. Now, there are exceptions and things are changing to some degree. How do I know this? Because if you've ever been to Walmart, there are people who are very overweight and yet they're dressed scantily somehow, like they seem to be completely unself-conscious. I don't know if they are. I can't imagine. And there is a movement towards that, right? Regardless of what you look like, be proud. And perhaps some people could pull that off, but most of us, I feel, we can't. We are conscious. We do want to look good. We do want to be validated for how we look, and we want to feel good, and we don't want to feel like people are looking at us or like we don't belong. You want to hear something heartbreaking? Talk to a teenager who's overweight, and all of her friends are very thin. That is not a happy child. Again, not in all cases, because there are these anomalies apparently where it doesn't seem to be a thing. And maybe, this is an okay boomer moment. And I'm talking about, attitudes from the 70s and 80s where there was that pressure and we did feel so inhibited. When I graduated high school and went to college, I went to Arizona State University. Arizona State University, located in Tempe, is a place where if it gets cold, it's 80 degrees, right? So there was a lot of pressure there to be fit. Everyone was tan, everyone was fit, everyone was attractive. I was a fat guy in the dorm. I was very aware of it. I was aware of it with my interactions. I was just very conscious of it while I was in school. Because I was so conscious of it, I began working out and watching what I ate, and I lost a lot of weight, and it was a much better experience for me, a much different experience. And my interactions were very different. And again, this is Arizona. It's not uncommon for it to be 105, 108 degrees there, and every apartment complex has a pool. And so we would go to the pools. I felt a lot better about myself when I was lean and I could take my shirt off. And summer is coming in New Jersey, and we love to go to the beach. And we do want to have that experience, and we do want to do it, like I said, in a relatively free and easy way. So this, I feel, is the importance of this subject of inhibition. Here's another example. We have Valentine's Day coming up. What are we celebrating? We're celebrating love, not just any love. We're celebrating romantic love. What does romantic love mean for people who have a partner? Often it means being naked with that partner. We've talked over the years about marketing here as a staff. And we've talked about Valentine's Day, and we've talked about, you know, discussing like the possibility of keeping the light on in a romantic context. Because you know damn well that there are a lot of people out there, they will not have that light on regardless. So that's another example of feeling inhibited, right? Feeling shy and not free and self-conscious. Imagine living without being self-conscious. I am not sure that self-consciousness has any survival value at all. I don't know that it has any benefit. I mean, yeah, I guess it has some benefit. And here I'll reference the people in Walmart again, which has become kind of a meme. So if I sound cruel by referencing that, I don't mean to be. It's become cliche almost, right? You could do a Google search if you want. But I don't think we need more than a minimum of self-consciousness that will prevent us from doing something silly. I mean, you know, there's something to be said for appropriateness, right? You know, you don't want to be wearing the lampshade. But that's why people drink in the first place. Because it gives us a break. It allows us to be unself-conscious. It allows us to lose our inhibitions. It's not the only reason, but it's a big reason. So I just feel that the possibility to live in a different way, to live with our focus being out on the world and on what we're trying to do, as opposed to our focus being, you know, us being inner focused and thinking about our worries and our inhibitions and our concerns, which can sometimes be consuming, especially this time of year. Again, it's Valentine's Day and spring is around the corner, which means that summer is around the corner. A lot of people turn their attention right now. People are turning their attention towards the spring and summer. Many people on January 1st, January 2nd, they started a weight loss program. They made a resolution, and by now it's over, right? The Super Bowl, they went crazy yesterday. You know, we have clients who are on the program. I was so impressed. I was so proud today. I was getting texts from clients whose weight was down. Who does that? They were watching the Super Bowl. They were at parties, and they lost weight. And they feel fantastic about it because everyone else was out of control. But right now, most people who have made a resolution have already given up on it. And there's another opportunity. There's an opportunity every day. And it is a Monday. And how many times do we start programs or intend to start programs on a Monday? Or intend to start living better? We can't talk about inhibition without talking about the subject of shame. Because it really comes down to being ashamed, being not proud, and projecting that onto how other people are looking at us. It's judgmentalism, often to a very high degree. Now, the quandary is, what do we do about it, right? I mean, do we work on our self-image and not care? And when I say not care, there's a good not caring and there's a not so good not caring, right? There's the not caring that says, you know what, regardless of my outward appearance, I am okay with it. And then there's the not caring that is apathy. And I believe that too many people tend to slip into that state of apathy, right? And it's not real. It's a BS story when people say, I don't care. Well, yeah, you do. In my opinion, drugs like Ozempic, Mounjaro, they are a step above apathy, right? They are for the people who have decided that they can't do it on their own, but yet they want the result. Right? This is the magic pill, the magic bullet. People are a step above apathy. They're like, I can't do it. I don't care enough to change or to attempt to change, but I do still want that result. So it's really desperation, and of course that always has consequences. Uh, Ozempic is something we've touched upon. I do want to speak about it more. I believe that it's going to be a nightmare. We've been through this before with other weight loss drugs. I don't know who remembers Fen-Phen. Fen-Phen was a weight loss drug that people were taking in the 1990s, and it was very effective as far as losing weight. And of course, it was causing heart problems, and they had to kind of discontinue it. And there were lawsuits and recrimination and all of that. And I believe that is going to happen, and that has begun already with Ozempic. It's a type of insanity to think that we can kind of break natural law, right? Like it's not. In what universe can we just take a shot and have our dreams come true? Right? Lose weight with no other consequences, with no side effects. It doesn't happen. This is not the universe we live in. It's a robbing Peter to pay Paul proposition at best. And that's when it works. When it works. And we'll talk about it more in the future because it is a big deal, and I happen to know that a lot of people are taking it, including former clients, and it's very upsetting to me. Okay. But getting back to this idea of inhibition, so I want to present the possibility of being less inhibited, of living life more freely, which again is what we want. That's why we want to make the money for the most part. Well, I think it's at the foundation of what most people are trying to do, right? We work hard so we can make enough money to be free to do what we want, but right, both the positive pole and the negative pole, right? The positive is we want to be able to do what we want. If we want to pick up at a moment's notice, fly off to Lake Como, that's a type of freedom. But then the other side is to be free from the worry and the concern and the necessity to do things that maybe we don't want to do. So it's what we're working towards unconsciously anyway. And I'm going to suggest we work towards that consciously. Motivation is a funny thing. Different people are motivated differently. Some people are motivated by desperation. Some people are motivated by freedom. right? By what they can accomplish and can have. It's just food for thought. And really, there's not much else to say. I want you to consider this. On the program, there is its own category of being inhibited. And here's what I mean. How many of us have been at a dinner with a bunch of people and we order something that's very healthy? So it's not only on the program, right? But when we're making an effort, we order something that's very healthy, for example. Or we show up somewhere and we bring our own food. And people might make comments, you know. And sometimes those comments are not very supportive or very nice, you know. Sometimes they're just curious. But people make a comment like, why aren't you drinking, for example? Or what are you doing? Or, um, oh, it seems like you're on a diet, or whatever it is. But we feel inhibited. We don't want the attention on us. We don't want to make it about us just because we choose to live or eat a certain way because we aspire to lose weight and to be healthy. And yet that will happen. There is pressure to be unhealthy. People like to conspire, right? Especially when they're doing something wrong. So there is that pressure and there is that feeling of self-consciousness for doing something right. I've actually made a video on this subject that I send out to clients because I want them to be able to speak to people about it, to get their support instead of, somewhat underhanded, nasty comments. Inhibition is a real force. Most people don't want to be looked at like they're the oddball. So it is a real force. There are ways to handle it. And if you have trouble or you have concerns about handling it, when you're making efforts, when it's that type of inhibition, right? You're trying to do something good and people might smack you down, then please reach out. And I can help coach you through that. So that's really all I have to say on the subject today. Thank you for being here. Listen, those of you who are in New Jersey, those of you who are on the East Coast and listening, be prepared tomorrow and be safe. I think a lot of schools are going to be closed. The levels of snow are going to be different depending on where you are. Don't overdo it. If you're shoveling, kids don't come around anymore for some reason to help shovel. So just be careful, be safe out there, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.